a really vivid memory of my preteenhood. I was at my friend's house, just hanging out, and somehow the song World Is Mine got mentioned. You might not know it, it's pretty underground. So we both went to sing the iconic line. Say I'm the best, and bow to your princess number one. Huh? This shocked me at first, but the feeling didn't really last. Growing up and liking Vocaloid, I was surrounded by people who tended to prefer English covers, which makes sense, it's the version of the song they could understand. But I always really hated them. Now my hatred for them isn't as strong. I love me a good Will Stetson, maybe even a Raichi here and there. But the covers just sounded too different. The lyrics I heard didn't hit my ears similarly enough to the Japanese versions. The singers always sounded kind of corny? Does that make any sense? And mainly, the covers lacked my favorite part about the originals, the vocal synth. I have come around to the human covers because of rhythm games I like. Sekai was a huge contributor to this because it's literally Vocaloid songs being sung by humans, but to this day, the originals stay on top for me with very rare exceptions, though I can appreciate both. But back then, I really couldn't. Not just because of the reasons I mentioned, but also because it felt really isolating to be the only one with the preference I had. Everyone, and I mean everyone who said they liked Vocaloid that I knew, didn't like the vocal synths, they just liked the songs, and they didn't want to hear the vocal synths, so they preferred covers. We could still kind of connect over that, but as the kid who treated each vocal synth as a whole character and would sit watching tuning comparisons all day, it felt really disheartening. I felt completely alone in my own world with no one who understood me and how I enjoyed media, even if some people came close. Granted, it was all just personal preference, but I couldn't see that at the time because of that loneliness. So I started feeling more misunderstood, and from that, you guessed it, I became pretentious. And so was born a Vocaloid purist, a Voca sweat, a Voca boomer, or whatever you call those people. And a lot of my views from that time period, not all, but a lot of them, have stuck around. My idea to make this video, along with my identity as one who strictly follows the religion of Hatsune Miku, was born from this comment I got a few days ago on my Did Project Sekai Ruin Vocaloid video, which says, yes, it did, however, in a different way. The Kryptonoids are stuck in a game where the player base hates them. Some people never liked the Vocaloid sound and preferred Utaitas. Project Sekai players hate Vocaloids. Go into any Vocaloid song and you'll see people wishing it gets covered by Sekai units. You also have people insulting the virtual singer version in the comments of the original producer's uploads. I think the Project Sekai fanbase is the Utaite fanbase, not the Vocaloid fanbase. When I read this comment, I got catapulted back to late elementary school, early middle school me. Here, I saw a sort of malice. I'm the only one who gets this, and I get left alone because of it, so everyone else is crazy, and I'm right. That seems like a reach, and I don't know this commenter, so they might not have been feeling that way at all, but this is exactly how I talked back then, and that's exactly how I felt. And no hate to the commenter either, because I think the feeling is valid in a lot of ways. I mean, again, I do still kind of agree. I want to explore that. So in order to do so, let's say the scenario is two-sided. One side is people who appreciate originals, and the other is a side who puts them down. Why do I personally dislike when people uplift cover content and put down vocal synths as a former Voca purist? A few reasons in no particular order. Welcome to why I think people liking covers but hating the originals is messed up. Cover content, while oftentimes impressive, would be nothing without the work of the original creators, so when originals get dismissed or even insulted in exchange for praising a cover, that's kind of super rude to me. The originals have something completely unique to offer in the same way a cover does. I'm not going to genuinely demean a piece of art that had love put into it just because I think somebody else did it better. The creators can't hear me or you or anyone outside of a comment, but I think it's super rude to say, wow, this cover is so much better than the original. I finally like the song now because the original, let me tell you, the tuning ruined everything. I get that sometimes tuning or the pitch could sound disjointed, but one, that has some charm too, and or two, should be seen for the value it has on its own right without saying the entire production is ruined due to it. And you don't have to like it, but try to see the value in it too instead of just writing it off. And on English covers, when people say they don't listen to music in another language because they can't understand it, I just, God, grow up. Sorry, that's mean, but seriously, grow up. You don't need to understand a piece of art to be able to appreciate it. Also, turning on subtitles is free. Finding a version with subtitles is free. Opening the Vocaloid wiki is free. Saying you don't want to listen to lyrics you don't understand is fine for the listening experience, since hearing words can make you feel more. But Hey bro, why are you genuinely dismissing the original because you can't understand it? Refusing to listen to something just because it's in a different language is still kind of insulting to me. There's a ton of value to getting accustomed to listening to music in another language. You're experiencing so much more artistry that you wouldn't be able to if you just stayed with English. If you prefer English covers and don't act like a fool about the original versions because they're in a language you don't know, I'm not talking about you, I appreciate you. But to those who get close-minded because they don't understand the words being said right off the bat, you're myope. It won't kill you to listen to a different language in a song, I promise you, you'll be fine. Because even if you're hesitant at first, you'll be able to hear the original form of that art too. So hearing people dismiss songs in other languages, it just, you're missing out and you don't even care, and that makes me really sad. And since the commenter touched on it, I'm not gonna lie, I also really dislike when people comment on a song like, on Hane cover when? More logically, I have a mixed opinion on this, because you can say that these comments go to show people's love for characters and music are connecting. And oh my god, that is beautiful and just about my favorite part of life, especially when people make these comments because of the lyrics of a song and how it connects to the characters, whether they be canon, OCs, or even on a different side, if they can connect it to people in their real life. That is gold. It shows so much love for the song and pours more humanity into how we experience music. But emotionally, when I see people throw that "my ship cover when" phrase around willy-nilly, it irks me. I can't lie, it irks me. Because this song is its own unique world, and as a fan who consumes these songs very deeply, getting told that its only value is to be paired with a pre-existing work? Dude, that stings so bad. I don't think everyone commenting like this has that intention, but as someone who gets comments all the time on videos I put a lot of heart into saying, can you do more minigames instead? Can you talk about Project Sekai instead? Can you do this or this or this that isn't a video essay? Let me tell you, it hurts so much to have something you created or just something you love get brushed off in exchange for something else that isn't even a part of the thing you made at all. These people aren't being malicious when they say things like that, but man, it really stings to hear. Whether you're the artist that created it or someone who really enjoys that piece of art as its own piece of art. It also hurts to have your love for vocal synths be demeaned or simply brushed off because humans sound better. Like, yeah, sure, that's a preference, whatever, but there are a ton of people I've met who get so pretentious about it. I get that sounds hypocritical, but don't worry, I'll address that in a minute. I also do feel like it's slightly different because you're never going to be judged for enjoying the voice of a human being. However, around people who didn't share my interests, I was judged daily for enjoying the voices of human beings being turned into synthesizers. And there are also so many cases where I just can't get that people think vocal synths sound bad. Sometimes they can sound jarring, but Miku's tuning in songs like Juggernaut by Natsushiro Takaaki, courtesy of Cilia, sound more special to me than any human ever could. I love Natsushiro Takaaki's self-cover too. That doesn't mean he sounds bad even slightly. His voice also elicits a strong emotional reaction from me. But the sound of a vocal synth is something so insanely unique and irreplicable, yet somehow for a synthesizer, so full of life that it hurts me to think of a world where this version of the song doesn't exist. And Harumaki Gohan's tuning on Miku in Cobalt Memories sounds so personal, full of love, and bursting with emotion. And don't even get me started on Sasakura Yuke's reverberant, impactful, techie-sounding tuning on Miku in any of his songs. There is so much value to the way that vocal synths sound, the way they are tuned, all of that you lose if you dismiss the original because humans sound better. It's such an unfair argument to me because you can prefer the sound of a human without demeaning the sound of a vocal synth. Because there's so much wonder to be seen here, and I just don't get how people can't see that. And I feel like they would see this if they didn't not give it a chance. People also make the argument that singing takes effort and using vocal synthesizers doesn't, which absolutely grinds my gears. Because this mentality is the same one that people who think Vocaloid is just AI have, which no, it's not AI, never has been and never will be. Even AI voice banks, which I have my own opinions on, aren't even the AI you're thinking of. Generative AI is not art, and to compare Vocaloid to AI is just 15 billion levels of insulting that I could make an entire video about. No, this is not computer generated. Someone sat down and made these vocals. No, they didn't produce them in the same way a singer would, but with an entirely different method that takes a ton of time and effort. Each individual syllable is placed into the song by human hand. Each little vocal inflection, shift, effect, everything is made by a human with time and effort. This is not automated. Unless the producer just slapped the notes in and let auto-tuning do the job, that's not the case. And even then, it isn't just slapping the notes in either. They put each and every note there. That takes love and effort too, and it shouldn't be put down because the only thing you're familiar with is the effort it takes to sing. Also, you can't know for sure how much effort a given producer's tuning took, because depending on the producer, the process could be, without a doubt, 10 times worse than singing. For example, Circus P, obligatory detrimental mention, makes the English tuning on his vocal synths sound as clear as they do by taking little snippets, millisecond long snippets, from a bunch of other sounds in the given vocal synth library and from the libraries of other vocal synths. So he takes these little millisecond snippets, puts them together to make words sound more accurate than they would with the actual voice bank. To punctuate this example, I'm gonna mention Better Off Worse. It's a song using V-Flower. If you know a bit about Vocaloid, you may know that V-Flower does not have an English voice bank. And producers like Ghost have used Flower for English songs before, and the results have sounded pretty good despite the fact that Flower cannot speak English. But Circus P is insane because I have never heard a better sounding V-Flower in my life. There's also the song Sabotage, which uses Kagamine Len's English voice bank, except he actually sounds extremely good, which Kagamine Len's English voice bank does not sound good.
Higher, I'm doing this wrong, higher.
He sounds like really muffly, but Circus P somehow made him sound extremely clear in English. Which is such a huge achievement with Len's English voice bank. That is so much time put into the vocal track of a song. So hearing people dismiss that by saying that doesn't take any real effort and that singing is the only thing here that takes effort and that it's just a robot and it's just AI, it's just generative AI, it irks me beyond belief. I'm starting to rant now, but I hope my passion gets across the idea that there is an unbelievable amount of weight to hearing people brush off vocal synth original songs from the perspective of someone who's a huge fan of them and what they have to offer. I mentioned it a bit ago, but getting treated like you're lesser for liking vocal synths is already super common. I've grown up loving Vocaloid pretty much my whole life. I've gotten so much judgment and so many weird looks for liking the sound of Hatsune Miku or any other vocal synth from people who see it as lesser. So for more judgment to come from our own community, people who like covers and think they're better for it, it makes it hurt even more. But here's the thing, that's just my side of the aisle and the side of the aisle of all the other people who prefer the originals over covers. And I did say that there's hypocrisy here. When I was younger, I did indeed have a superiority complex around this kind of thing too. I was the odd one out, but I too grew the same habit of brushing covers off because people had done the same thing for vocal synths. It's like everyone around you liking red while you like green. Whether or not they make fun of you for liking green, an understandable human reaction to being isolated would be to privilege green and start despising red. But the issue there is that it causes you to engage in the exact same behaviors you really hate to see from the other side. It also stops you from appreciating just how cool red is. And when I say the exact same behaviors, I mean the exact same behaviors. Vocaloid purists can be just as irritating as those who only listen to covers while dismissing originals. And if they're not on the same level, they're far worse. And the kicker is that you both have an extremely similar niche interest. You could both be bonding over this if you keep open minds, and I thought I had an open mind and the cover people were close-minded, but let's say it's the Voca purists that don't have the open minds. Again, let's say the scenario is two-sided. One side is people who appreciate covers, and the other side is one that puts them down. Here's why it's wrong to dismiss covers. Ironically, this reason is very similar to one from the argument for vocal synths. Covers have so much merit to them. Covers allow someone to deviate from the original in a ton of creative ways. With the influx of monitoring covers we got because of the popularity of the song, we got to see how different singers interpreted it, whether it was just through giving us the new sound of their own voices in harmony with the instrumental we already knew, or by adding flair to what we already had. We were introduced to so many new forms of the same amazing piece of art we already love. My favorite example of this, with a ton of bias, is Aoki Yo's cover of Monitoring. The unique sound of their voice and how they manipulate it, the use of audio effects, and the energy they put into the performance. And getting to hear a masculine voice sing Monitoring made me feel a certain way that I really gotta see a therapist about. Also, this isn't a part of the song itself, but the artwork is so good! Everything about this cover gave us a new, unique version of Monitoring to love. And when a Vocaloid purist says that you can only appreciate the original unless you're a normie, you miss out on that. And hey, you know what? Actually, we wouldn't have that artwork that made this MV so cool if not for this Vocaloid cover culture that the people who have a disdain for covers dislike so much. Vocaloid cover culture, just like the culture of Vocaloid in general, inspires creation through love. Whether the love is coming from the person singing the song, the artist, the one commissioning them, or both. Putting so much love into a song, mixing, editing, tweaking, drawing, animating, all of it is the fuel that created everything I love so much about Vocaloid. And that isn't lost in the transition from synthesizer to cover, not at all. English covers especially take a lot of love. This isn't something you really think about either until you hear a really good cover with lyrics that complement not only the meaning of the song, but the sound of the song perfectly, or until you try to write English lyrics that do so yourself. I remember the first time I started to appreciate English covers a little more was when I heard a Will Stetson cover with lyrics by Breadbox. My personal favorite cover to this day, though it isn't Vocaloid related, is his English cover of Kickback. These lyrics sound so good. There's nothing disjointed about them to me, which can be super easy trap to fall into when writing English lyrics. And if you think that can't be that hard to do, I implore you to pull open a Google Doc right now, pick your favorite Vocaloid song, and write English lyrics that don't stray too far from an official translation, while, and this is the most important part, making sure they still sound as good as they did in Japanese. I don't have to see you through the screen to know that with no experience, you will struggle. It is not easy to write good English lyrics. This is something that takes heaps of refined skill to do, as well as Breadbox and a ton of other great English lyric writers have. Because when you don't, it can end up sounding like this.
It takes a lot of skill to be this bad, truly. Just look at you holding the whole thing.
And after all this, it's not even just about how unique covers can be, it's not about how hard writing English lyrics is, or about how hard it is to sing well as a human being, or anything like that. If it wasn't enough, it also takes blood, sweat, and tears to mix a song. I have a notaite friend who does just as much, if not more mixing than he does singing, and on the daily, he's like, I have to mix 4 songs for 0 pay, I'm gonna go crazy, someone please help me. He loves doing it, but it takes so much time and hard work to do that seeing him have to do all of it, it's just, wow. Good on you, bro. I'm sorry. But it makes me appreciate covers so much more because there are so many things going on behind the scenes that you don't know about that add so much impact to their importance. And on top of all those very valid reasons to enjoy covers, enjoying covers, English or not, over the original works is still just a preference. Some people just like the sound, they like the lyrics, they like the voices, the changes, anything. They just like it. And that doesn't mean they're being disrespectful or calling the originals garbage or whatever they're portrayed as doing so often. Because when I was younger, that's what I wrongfully saw when I found someone enjoying English covers over the originals. There's nothing wrong with enjoying the way covers sound more. There's nothing wrong with preferring to understand the lyrics of a song with your ears alone. There's nothing wrong with liking covers, as long as you're respectful about it. You shouldn't be scrutinized in the same way that you shouldn't scrutinize others for liking the originals. Voca purists have been deluded into thinking that Utaite fans are all like the people who shamed them, and that isn't true, not even slightly. They see the worst of the worst, and because of it, they write off covers, similarly to how an Utaite fan would see the worst of Vocaloid purists and then write off originals. There are Utaite fans out there who think that the originals suck and that covers are the way to go. Fans who think English covers are the only way. Fans who genuinely do believe the things I ranted about in the part of the video favoring the Voca purists. Loving Vocaloid for so long has exposed me to that literally all the time. But the Voca purists do the exact same things that they do, but with covers. You guys are all the exact same. You are fueling each other's actions through the same form of hatred. It's being perpetuated over and over again, and what do we get out of it? Nothing but a lack of community, and even worse, a lack of appreciation for works of art. Vocal synths are niche, and interest in Utaite is niche too, and the two interests are so alike that there's only one factor setting them apart: the singers. So this shame towards originals or towards covers is absolutely unfounded. The only basis it has is past grievances with being put down, and the answer to that kind of thing shouldn't be to put down others because of that anger. Never. Because we're losing connections over it. Connections that we, as isolated people with a weird interest, can't afford to lose. What this person commented about is still true. This stuff does happen, and it's wrong. I don't think they're unjust in having these issues with Utaite fans, but I also don't think Utaite fans are unjust in having issues with Voca purists. But at the end of the day, what we're doing here is letting the worst examples of opposite sides of a debate that shouldn't even be had, determine how we view the artwork of the other. Artwork that literally didn't do anything wrong. Artwork that is being brushed off just because we see the people who enjoy it as not understanding us or being lesser than us. Artwork that we could be enjoying, artwork that deserves to be enjoyed for what it is and not as slop only the opposition would enjoy. This behavior, when all that really matters in a space like this is loving music, is going just against that. Loving music. The feeling of isolation that comes from shame hurts, and because of that shame, it can be easy to foster anger and disdain for the art form that's being used to demean you and the other people who enjoy it, whether that art be an original or a cover. But all we're doing is hurting each other and throwing away art that we could really love. The same thing we claim to hate the other people are doing. So instead of seeing someone as lesser for liking an original, appreciate the original, love it for what it is. Don't refuse to listen to it just because it's in a different language, or have a closed mind when it comes to listening to a vocal synth. Love it for what it is. And appreciate the cover, whether you prefer the sound of vocal synths or it gives you lyrics you're not used to or makes you think of people who think they're better than you for listening to real people and you gotta stop listening to that little Hatsune Miku robot. Appreciate that these are just people singing a song because they love it just as much as you do, and that their voice has so much merit too. Love it for what it is. Because in cutting either form of art off due to malice, you're missing out on that feeling of enjoyment you could be getting in a whole new color. Hi, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm really sorry if this one doesn't make too much sense. My brain is deteriorating by the minute, but I really wanted to talk about this since talking about Vocaloid fan related stuff has been really fun. I want to make some more videos about it because with the way things are changing in the space, there's a lot to say. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you guys again soon. Make sure to keep living because it's the only way things can get better. Bye-bye.